Travel, interesting questions can arise about local customs and what the right thing to do is. For answers to these questions, joining us live is Dear TripAdvisor herself, Leslie Carlin. She's a columnist with Scripps Howard News Service. Thanks for waking up with us this morning, Leslie. So our first viewer writes in, saying, why don't cashiers in Italy like to make change? I know it's rude to pay for a newspaper with, say, €100, but, if, say, I'm buying something for €12 and I only have a 50, what do you do? Because they just don't like the fuss, and I don't like carrying around coins because that seems to be all they have there.
Right. Well, I think they just don't keep as much cash on hand in the cash register as we're used to in the United States. But you would think that the ATMs would recognize this. The ATMs do tend to spit out 50s. So you can do a couple of things. What I would recommend is take out €180 instead of €200 from the ATM, because then you're sure to get a couple of 20s, and those are much easier to deal with in a store. And also, you just have to some extent, deal with carrying the change around. They have €1 and €2 coins instead of bills, and I know those are heavy and kind of annoying, but it's the way they do it there, and literally when in Rome, you got to do what they do.
Sure. Alrighty, the next question is, there's a bar in my hometown that's been de-consecrated from a church. Now, it's a really cool space, and the food is really good, but I have a work colleague coming to town, and I'm thinking about taking him there for dinner, but my wife is just horrified about the idea. She thinks he's going to be really offended. So is this a really bad idea?
Well, I think you have to be careful. You might think you know your colleague really well, but religion doesn't often come out in a work context. So I would be careful about making assumptions, that he would be okay with drinking in a deconsecrated church. What I would do is just send him the website for that place as well as a couple of other restaurants and say, why don't you pick where we go out to dinner? And that way, if he thinks it looks cool, then you're all set. But if, he'd like to go somewhere else, if he'd feel more comfortable, he can do that without making a big deal of it.
All right, Leslie, thanks for your time this morning. If you have a question for our Dear TripAdvisor, just log on to our website, abc15.com, and just click on 15 links. Rebecca?